we referred to Pope Francis about his reasons why religious life tends to be joyless, and three main reasons. Does anyone remember without looking at the notebook? What are they? Crisis of identity, heightened individualism, cooling of fervor. Very good. So we shall spend a little time on this identity. Crisis in identity. So first I shall speak little bit in general, and then I shall speak of some false identities and then true identity. Because the whole life revolves around this matter of identity. If I really do not know who I am, what I am, then what I do, what I say, everything will depend on that. So if I think rightly who I am, I will also live rightly. So, mainly in three areas, it is said to be crisis. Crisis in vocation, so on with regard to identity. So as we live our identity, so the crisis can be in vocation, in ministry, and in commitment. So what does this mean? Is more, you can think of the struggle or the tension between what is human, what is divine, or the tension between the real and the ideal, the struggle. And here it is more the struggle between the role identity and the core identity. And it is here more, we speak of three things. In terms of commitment, in terms of celibacy, in terms of conflict with authorities. Of course, this is pertaining to that, as we already said, that fervor, that zeal. So, mainly connected to this, the problems are with regard to satisfaction, with regard to celibacy, with regard to conflict with authorities. So few words, because actually I did not want to speak of this, wanted to speak that false identity, true identity, as I was also reflecting. That's what every retreat, many may think, what is there, one retreat you prepare and then that will serve for all the retreats. It is not true, anyway, at least I personally, every time, I try to sit together and then I continue to prepare. Sometimes the themes, the topics may be the same, but the formulations, the presentation will be different, has to be different. So that way, as I was reflecting, I thought maybe this is also is helpful. So, the crisis in identity with regard to our vocation, and all this we experience, each one of us. Very often, we are pressed between the human aspect and the divine aspect. So what do I mean? Whether we are great, religious or priest, ultimately we are human. We remain human. But the problem is constantly our vocation reminds us, our vocation also demands certain ways which have to be different from the ordinary humans and beyond and above the ordinary humans. And that is the problem. So we are human, and at the same time, by our vocation, we are expected to go beyond the human. In a way, we are expected to live and operate in the realm of the divine. And that is what, when we find it difficult to balance between the human and the divine, there comes the crisis. And that's what simple example you know very well. We were speaking about various things like feelings, like relationships, friendships, all this. Yeah. That's what I was also telling my young brothers there. See, certain times we may not see anything wrong, and there may not be anything wrong. Now, in the parish, after the Mass, let us imagine that young sister or that young priest, okay, they just speak for 3-5 minutes, once, twice, 3-4 times, then you can see. So they are speaking happily, both are smiling, and obviously there is some liking, some interest for each other. So what happens? Most of the times, our education, our spirituality, all that we keep only in the rooms. Immediately we think wrong, and immediately you will see people thinking differently and speaking differently. And that is what, a simple silly example, people expect us to be divine. Expect us, that's what when they hear also, some little thing goes wrong, and then how can the priests and the religious, how can they do that? So, people expect us, the expectations of people are, they want us to be angels, spirits floating in the air. And that's why the same mentality also can be among us. Why very many times we speak of the generation gap, old generation, new generation, seniors, juniors, traditional, modern. Why? Why this gap? Why this conflict? Why very often a misunderstanding? The seniors complain that the youngsters, they are too much going off the way, and the youngsters blame that the seniors have stopped growing. They do not understand the modern realities. Why all this? If you just analyze, that is what sometimes we place over expectations and over demands, mostly from others, and sometimes we place on ourselves also this kind of over expectations. I am priest and therefore I should be perfect. Desire is good, but then if I am not aware, ultimately I am a man of fragility. That is my nature. It is not justifying or defending our weaknesses. That's why our venerable patron Saint Francis de Sales teaches us both ways. He says, as long as you have a heart that can always repent, that can always change, you need not be frustrated, you need not be upset, because always there is possibility to rise up. But at the same time he says, as long as we have also a heart that is devious, which means that is prone to fall and fail, you should never be overconfident. You should never be self-complacent that you have grown and therefore I will not fall. And that's what can happen. People who think too much of themselves sooner or later will fall. In the same way, people who think too low of themselves will remain just stuck to the ground in their own weaknesses. And that's what, when I used to go for a meeting, I used to always tell, we should never condemn a person once and for all. At the same time, we should never keep a person on the pedestal. We should never take the person to the skies and keep him there, because there is always a possibility for either side. So, even if you have done the most heinous, most grievous sin, still I will not condemn you. I condemn the act. That is not right. At the same time, you are my sister, you are my brother. So how can I think I am a righteous, holy, just person, and as if you are miserable sinner? So that is why, whether it is personally or towards others, the crisis can come when we exaggerate either of the two sides. People who exaggerate the human side will fall miserably to the weaknesses. And that is what you see. See, it is not mere words or statements which we make. For example, I make a mistake, and then immediately what will be the tendency? What to do? We are humans. We are humans. Human being will fall. So any weakness, so if I am simply exaggerating this human aspect, any weakness is equated with humanness, as if to be human means only to be weak, and that is one danger. To be human does not mean only to be weak. Not only weakness is part of the human nature, but also rising up and nobility. Not only fragility is part of us, but nobility is also part of us. Not only falling is part of me, but rising also is part of me. That's why, consciously or unconsciously, sometimes we exaggerate this human side, and that way people can continue lifelong only in the weaknesses. And that's why, to be very frank and honest with you, some trees getting addicted to drink, or addicted to smoke, or addicted to money, or addicted even to the women or religious men. I just cannot understand. Addicted, I mean. Yes, inclinations will be there. Certain times little weakness may be there. But then addiction. And that's what sometimes, with all the due respect for the charismatic preachers, great preachers, who always come up with the testimonies, witnesses, no? So what God has done in their life, all very good. But then I just cannot understand. The priest tells, you see, till last year I was drinking so much, I was smoking so much, I was running after women, I was not sincere in my accounts, and now God has touched me. What you are trying to say? First of all, as a priest, how could you go down to such levels of so much addicted to drink or smoke, knowing fully well they are not the right things? So that's why sometimes I feel, in the name of testimonies, in the name of saying, actually, not sure whether I am saying about the greatness of God. God touched me and then I stopped drinking. Or you want to say that you are great because you stopped. So please understand, I am speaking about addictions. So I am not saying, okay, smoking, drinking, these things, okay, are totally against goodness or holiness. I am not saying one who drinks cannot be holy, one who does not drink is holy. I am not saying that. But then, are these really needed? That's what, as I was sharing the other day also with some of the deacons where I went, I was telling them very clearly. So I said, yeah, I do not take drink. I'm not saying it as a sign of greatness or holiness. I never touch drink. I never touch drink. And then I was telling them, it is always good that you also decide not to take. Then, okay, some got up and then they were saying, Father, see these days, I mean, it's all, society is changing. And then also sometimes in the level of the vicariate, or we have some gatherings, if it is religious, maybe some priest, apostolic community or local community coming together, and this is all, what harm, Father, nothing happens, no? And this is also keeping comparing, and then when other 10 are taking, and if I do not take, or if I am invited to a family, and then they offer, they themselves offer, I do not ask, and then if I take, they will be very happy. No? I said, I am not, as I already said, I am not saying so about holiness or no holiness. I just asked, is it doing anything good to you? Is it giving any good example? Is it creating anything plus point for you in the sight of the people? Though they may offer you, though they may say, very good, Father, you are just giving company to us, how nice it is, Father is so free with us, all that. But then you know very well, whether it is here or abroad, in the heart of hearts, people want the priests and the religious to be different from them. At least in this kind of habits, or in this kind of socially accepted norms. That's what we say. They are socially accepted. I do not know who accepted it. Just because they go on, just because they are tolerated, we say, now these are normal practices. Normal practices. So, I told them, if you think that helps my priestly commitment, my priestly witness, then go ahead. Then I said, is it not good that you are a good priest without this? You say you can be a good priest even with this. Okay, I grant. But is it not better that you are a good priest even without this? You understand? That way, for you there is no such problem, as I have never seen a sister smoking. That's what I always wonder, how is it, especially, here or abroad also. There in Italy, these ladies sometimes smoke more, because they are more tense. But otherwise, sisters I had never seen anywhere smoking. So anyhow, all in that context. So let us not exaggerate the human self. And at the same time, let us not also forget the human aspect. And that's what, as I said, over expectations. So sometimes the fault of the seniors or the superiors and the authorities also, whether it is here formation also, that's what constantly when we meet for the staff meeting, we remind ourselves we need to balance between compassion and at the same time the strictness of the formation. So otherwise what happens, is what I still remember when I was appointed, my first appointment in the minor seminary on the formation. I was ordained at 23 and a half. I joined the seminary at 12 and a half, 13. So, ordination wise, I am senior to many. Age wise, I am junior to many. 23 and a half, I was ordained, and then I was appointed in the minor seminary as the dean of studies. And then all the other priests, some 4 or 5 were there, they were very senior to me. And minor seminary, in the basketball, sometimes the student may lose the pass or shooting. And then one of the staff used to get so much angry. And then afterwards, then he used to, in the staff meeting, especially when we were doing the evaluation and the report, he was saying, this fellow is not grown, he is still very angry, he does not know how to control his temper. All that he was speaking about one student who was often getting into fight, a kind of fight in the basketball. So I just said, okay, Father, we expect the students to be formed, to grow. But then, let us ask each one of us, after so many years of formation, after some years of priestly life, how much we are able to control our anger. And if we are so much controlled, then why is it we get into conflict? We shout so often to them. So what I mean, we need to be at times compassionate and understand, not simply immediately jumping upon others to judge them, to condemn them. We have passed some years, So sometimes the others also will take little time. So to what extent, that is the problem. That is what the matter of the balance. So how much we need to understand the human side and how much we need to understand the divine side. So without exaggerating either side. So that is why it is called a constant struggle. So human and divine, and also very close, real and the ideal. So there also our vocation certainly places some demands on us, ideals. And at the same time, we also realize really we are this much. Ideally, we have to be that much. Ideally, we must be that much, but really we are only this much. So, the struggle between this much and that much is how much? And that is the whole crisis. So, the real and the ideal. And that's why in that context also, my sisters, we need to be always aware. We can never become the ideal. We can never reach that ideal point. So the ideal will remain, and the real is here, and the ideal is here. So perhaps in our whole lifetime, the real may not become the ideal. These both may not merge together at any time. So what I personally think and believe is our success or our road of perfection is more and more we come near to it. So this is what the maximum we can reach to the ideal. The maximum we can appropriate, that means we can make the ideal our own, that is perfection or holiness. So that's why, in line with my venerable patron Saint Francis de Sales, I understand perfection not as one point of perfection excluding all imperfections. I do not think that way. The very fact that we are constantly, sincerely struggling against our imperfections, I believe is a way of perfection. So, this is what we call it maximization or appropriation. So that is what we say, do your best. That's what we say, but then what I say, do the maximum. Do the best. Best does not mean there is something that ideal. The best of what we can, not the best of what must be. The best of what we can, the best of what can be, we can never. But the best of what I can. And many times that does not happen. So that's what I tell the students. Certainly there will be differences in intelligence, in the grasping power. It's there. Why? There's no such question. Why there are differences? Why God is showing partiality, discrimination? Stop, man. What you know about God? Parable of the talents. Why to one 5, to the other one 2, to the other one 1? What is your problem, man? It is like that. But what you do with what is given, that's all. Why you go? Can you understand why it is like that? Why some are more intelligent, some are less intelligent? Why some seem to be blessed with so many things and some less? Why some are the richest and some are the poorest? Why the fellows who face the problems, they will go on facing the problems in the religious life also? And why the fellows who enjoy, they go on enjoying in the wrong ways? Why? No ways. It is like that. That's all. If it is like that, what can we do? That is what. So, maximum. Can we do the maximum of our limits and constantly appropriating? Appropriating means making our own. Appropriate, what is the meaning? Appropriate. So what sometimes I ask the brothers also about parts of speech. Parts of speech, tenses. Tense. Understand? Tense. Can I ask what are they? Better not. Okay. Tense. And that's what recently I conducted the English grammar exam. There also fellows will come up with wisdom and revelation. I asked what are the persons according to grammar. Persons, you know, no? Can I ask you, sister? Better not. Okay. Persons? Yes. That's what I'm asking. Yes. Which are the persons? That way, charity. Single will not say. So what are the persons? Which are the persons? I asked, and then I questioned. Then I saw the answers. One fellow writes, different persons are there, Father. Tall persons, short persons, good persons, bad persons. So also, which are the numbers? And 7, 8 fellows were asking me, what is this number, Father? What are the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the numbers. And I was trying to give the fellows some hint also. See, man, see, when you say there is one student in the classroom, one refers to number, or there are 30 students in the classroom, that also is number. So both 1 and 30, they are not the same numbers, you know. And still the fellow goes on reflecting. So that's what, in that way, I really appreciate sisters' formation. Already in the aspirancy, in the postulancy and novitiate itself, your children, your students, really, they speak very good English. So whether it is language or whether it is manners, whether it is prayers, really, not because I want to flatter you, but also I will say afterwards, because I never believe in either of them. So that's what always again we need to maintain a balance between, avoid the extremes, either boasting or flatter. So some are experts with boasting and some are experts with flatter. Oh, you are king, you are queen, you are moon, you are sun. That's what I was also telling the brothers. Okay, on every birthday, they need to give some speech. Okay, there, okay, you need to use some adjectives, surely. Now, because they will have certainly, each one will have some quality. You should, at least that day, you should appreciate, at least that day. So that way, okay. But then, sometimes I get irritated when I hear, he is the most intelligent on this earth. Where did you go, man? All around the earth. He is the most intelligent. He is the wisest person like Solomon. When did you go around to see whether other people are wise or foolish? And when did you go and to see Solomon? And he is the embodiment of virtues. He contains all the virtues. And then you ask Pope Francis to make him saint. And one thing is to appreciate a person and then simply use him as if you know him. That's what, this is one thing which I did when I went. Okay, I worked a little bit in the schools, I worked a little bit in the parishes and in the formation. So that were mainly 3 fields for us. So in my little time as the parish priest, when I went to a very big parish, then so much devotion, especially in Hyderabad, you may know, lot of devotion to Saint Anthony. Not only there, I think overall, so much devotion. It's very good. As I already said, I admire saints and then I read. In fact, that is one thing which my mother did to me. Already when I was small, 3-4 years old, she was reading to me the lives of the saints. And especially these small saints like Teresa of Child Jesus, Dominic Savio, Martin, small saints. And that's how I fell in love with Teresa and Dominic Savio also. So as my mother was inspiring me with those stories, that time itself, I felt a desire to join the seminary and become priest, especially Dominic Savio. So I thought joining the seminary and becoming a priest is the best way and the right way to become holy and saint. Later on only I realized that is the most difficult way to become. So, that is what exaggerations, boasting and flattery, both we need to avoid. Some others boasting. I did this, I did that, I constructed this, I only made. That's what we have. One of our former chief ministers. That fellow, whenever some great thing happens, that Sindhu, you heard of her? No. I appreciate your innocence. Because sometimes ignorance is considered as innocence. Okay. Of course, not necessary we should know. That's why staff also is very interesting. Okay. Sometimes, anyway, we just, because nowadays they mix Morning Star staff. Some senior elderly fathers, some middle, and some little young. So we make a beautiful community. But then jokingly we know. So we sit 3-4 tables, at least 3 tables, sometimes 4 tables. So 1 or 2 tables then is a political table. And this one we say serious theological biblical matters. And we fellows, at least to eating time, we want to be little peaceful. And this one is miscellaneous table. Okay, light fellows. So that way, see, sometimes so much boasting also. I did that, I did this. So what we had one senior priest, or in the lighter sense. So he was very much known for this boasting. And yeah, certainly he was doing good things, no doubt. But then, as you know very well, even though we do the great things, if you find a person lacking in humility, boasting is straight against humility. Both flattery and boasting, why they are not good? Because they are against truth. They are not faithful to truth. So they are distorting the truth. In the case of boasting, it is distorting the truth with regard to the self. And in the case of flattery, it is distorting the truth with regard to others. But then both are twisting the truth. That's why that priest anyway is no more. But then whenever he does something, he wants others to lift him high. And poor man, once he bought nice pork, no. You get once a while. I do not know whether Morning Star gives once a while, I do not know. So whenever we have plenty, I think, some 40, 50. We get once a while. And then in the beginning, last year especially, because there are some non-pork fellows, those who don't take pork, so they had one little, what you call plate, non-pork. So they used to keep maybe something, egg or something, or chicken, for those who do not take pork last year. And this year, the plate is not there, name plate. And so that's what we used to say joking. Pork is there, man, but where is the non-pork? So this man bought nice pork, and in the parish there is a convent of sisters. He went and gave them. Poor fellow. He expected little bit of thanks, but sisters may be very busy or they were tensed with something else. They did not thank him. And then that man was very angry, but he cannot say anything there. So he came back to the community, and then as we were there in the dining hall, very angrily he stamped the table. These pigs, I gave them pork and they did not thank me. That is what pigs and pork. Now only someone is So, the real and the ideal. And the crisis in ministry, this is mainly the problem, my sisters. I will speak of it also in the context of false identity. But just in the context, this is the biggest problem, the biggest crisis in ministry. Very often we are caught between the role identity and the core identity. The role identity, as I will be speaking at length, that is incomplete and deficient identity. That is not the real identity. Our real identity is the core identity. What is my true identity? What makes my identity what it is? What makes me what I am? That is what the true identity, the core identity. So that's what in philosophy they say it essence. You might have heard essence, not this curry essence. Sometimes you put essence in some curry. Yeah. Which one, sisters? Cake. Cake, okay. Put essence in the cake. So now in philosophy, you ask, what is the essence of table? What is first of all essence? Forget about the essence of the table. What is the essence? What is essence? Your good name, Taraka. Okay. Taraka. What is the essence of Taraka? I'm not asking meanings. So, now in philosophy, might have done little philosophy. I forget. I do not know. Thank God. So, what is your essence? What makes Taraka, that is the essence. So in that way, philosophically speaking, so the essence of Taraka will be Tarakaness. Okay. Star. So in the same way, now, essence of table is what makes a table, not the shape, not the length, not the color, not the material, whether it is gold table, wooden table, iron table, silver table, all you say it is a table. It is not the gold which makes it a table. It is not the silver which makes it a table. There is something which makes it a table. So that is tableness. Okay. So in the same way, so identity, what is my true identity is what makes me what I am. So in that way only, my role does not make me what I am. Because today I may be principal, but when I am not principal, do I cease to be a priest? Do I cease to be a consecrated person? Today I am superior, and tomorrow when I am not superior, my superiorship may cease, but my consecration does not cease, which means that is not my identity. So today I am professor, and then after some time I may not be, but then still I continue to be what I am. So that is what you see. Very often we give too much importance to our roles and we forget the core identity. That's what I am the principal. I am the superior, I am the administrator, I am the treasurer, I am the professor, I am the teacher, I am the activist, I am the doctor, I am the superintendent, I am the manager, I am the director. I ask, so what? So what? Because they are not so. I will speak of it, but there again, as I already told you, when you ask, so when I say I am in the morning star, and immediately you may ask me, so what are you? I am a formator, I am a professor. That's wrong. I am, that is the identity, and my being a formator, my being a professor is not my identity. So, though we say, of course, practically we say, I am a teacher, I am this, I am that, but then that is not, because when I say I am, you are, this I is not equal to this. Though practically we say, but then what I do does not make me what I am. These are my functions. These are my roles. And they are not my identities. Okay. From the identity, all these roles and functions will flow. Surely. I am not saying, so do not mistake me when I say, what I do does not make me what I am. That does not mean, okay, what I am does not do. What I am must do something to show what I am. But then what I am saying, these alone do not decide. So I may stop teaching, but still I continue. Go on somewhere afternoon speaking these things. Simple things, sister. No, because these are basics, and then sometimes see what are very simple and basic, we do not bother much. And that's what you see, true, love, simple, all these things we use left and right, and ask someone what you mean by truth, and then you will find the difficulty. Truth means no, not false. Truth means not untrue. All this. So, that is what very often you find a conflict between role identity and core identity. And clarifying it a little more, that is why unfortunately today we find priests and religious who seem to be excellent principals or administrators but miserable religious. That's what I mean. I am a great principal, but then I am not a good priest. It's what there are few priests of us. They are ready to work hours and hours, even till midnight, connected to the school. But then the parish priest asks them, please help me for one mass on the Sunday. No, I am very busy. I have to do something. We do not doubt about your excellence or about your great work there, but then, where am I laying my emphasis? What is my priority? How can I forget that fundamentally, essentially, I am a priest, I am a religious, and all these things are expressions of my religious vocation or living my identity. These must be supplements and complements to my real identity. They should not be substitutes or exclusions for my identity. And that's why I exclude my pastoral obligation for the sake of my academic excellence. You understand what I mean? So that is what you see. A great crisis today. A great crisis. And that's what, when I was meeting sometimes the principals also, I used to tell them very clearly, do not think that you are wedded to the school. We are wedded to Jesus Christ. In the sense we are espoused. Our prime, our first commitment and the greatest commitment is to Christ and to our religious consecration. All the rest of the things afterwards. And that is why, as I said, our roles, our functions dominate and even substitute our real identity. That is the great crisis today. People speak of excellence in all the fields and then they forget the excellence in the consecration. And the commitment, that is, as I already noted, that fervor and zeal is declining. You find lot of mediocrity, lot of indifference, lot of lethargy in the commitment. Lethargy, you understand? Feelingless. And that's what I ask sometimes. At least give me a feeling whether you understand or not. Some others, they give all the other feelings which are not needed except that feeling. And when you don't understand something, my little sisters, feel free to ask, okay? Of course, salvation is not lost, but feel free, okay? Because that is why I try to clarify and explain, because that is what I tell the students also. Instead of giving 150, 200 pages of notes, and then which half of the thing they will not understand. I wish even if it is 30, 40 pages also, I wish whatever I speak, whatever I teach is clear and understood by you. Okay, sister? You understood this? Your good name, sister? Nirmala. Nirmala. So another senior Nirmala, no? Jubilee sister. This is junior Nirmala. Yes. Good name, sister. Good name. Even compliment, and this one is very serious. That's what, with regard to understanding also, I might have told you. Normally when I go for a class or anything, this is what I tell them in the beginning. So, please, when you do not understand something, and surely there will be times when we do not understand, is it not? We do not understand all the things for various reasons. Sometimes the matter itself is difficult. Sometimes matter is simple, but the fellow who speaks it is difficult. Because sometimes some fellows simplify the things, sometimes some complicate what is simple also. And sometimes subject matter may be easy, the speaker may be easy, but then your disposition, you understand? If you are getting into mystical experience, whatever best thing is spoken, that will not reach. And then suddenly you come out of that mystical experience, you come into the concrete life, and then you will not understand what is happening. So, there can be different reasons why we do not understand, but I always tell the people, even though you may not understand, at least understand one thing. You remember, sister? Okay, I will not ask you. Because almost I am sure you don't remember. Don't worry. So, even though you do not understand something, at least understand one thing. Understand that you do not understand. It's very important. It may look very simple. So what happens many times, people do not understand many things and they are not aware, they do not know that they don't understand. And that's why I say, when you begin to understand that you don't understand, you will start understanding what you were not understanding. You understand? Simple only, that's what we need, little sharp attention. Otherwise, very simple it is, as I say, what is. What is not, is not. What is not, is. Simple it is. If only we are little attentive. This one is peaceful. Never. You say whatever you want. So much lethargy, so much we call it tepidity. Tepidity, various expressions which can convey the meaning to us. In the place of that zeal, that fervor, you call it fervor, you call it zeal, you call it ardor. Ardor, not that order. This ardor. Ardor means order. Ask me. I ask you to ask me. Order means more or less the same meaning. And then don't ask me what is fervor. Fervor means order. That's what sometimes I write something on the board in the class. And then I ask the students, this generation is smart generation. I write something on the board and I ask the fellow, what did you write, man? What did you write? What you wrote there only, father? And then I ask him, what did I write here? Yeah, what I wrote there only, father? So interesting, that one. It is told also about knowing that little Hindi. You know it, I think, all of you. The fellow knows only one phrase, one statement to say, come here. No? Idhar aiye. Idhar aiye. So he knows only that. And then his friend wants to fool him, wants to catch him. Okay, you know, idhar aiye, come here. But how will you say to the fellow, go there? Udhar jaiye, no? But then this fellow knows only idhar aiye. But then he uses that. I will go there and call idhar aiye. Different techniques, that's what sometimes you have to manage. And it is like the teacher, no? Like the teacher, you know, she was very angry, she did not do the homework, and he tells the student, okay, get out. Get out. So she puts the student out, and then the headmaster is coming on rounds, and she wants to call the fellow inside, but she does not know to say, come in. She knows only get out. What to do? She goes out of the classroom and tells the fellow, get out! So order, fervor, see, you use whatever enthusiasm, okay? So, in contrast to this, you find very often, you find tepidity, all similar meanings, lethargy. You find that disinterestedness or lukewarmness, we say. We find mediocrity. So that is what today, my sisters, you find among many priests and religious. As I already said, increasingly surveys show, different surveys show, only 20% seem to be really convinced and committed. And 80% seem to be compromising and convictive. Convictive actually means blaming, finding fault, accusing people. They do not do the right things, but then they go and sit themselves on the judgment seat, and they say, that's what, convicting others, that means condemning others. So compromising. And it is said, it is these 20 people who seem to carry the burden of the rest of the 80%. And that is very true, very many times, whether it is in the dioceses or the congregations. Okay? Some people will be there, and then they will carry the whole burden. And that's why sometimes you find those who do, they will go on doing, and those who don't do, they will go on not doing. Anyhow, everyone is answerable before God, that is not. So, we need not feel bad, others are not doing, why should I do? I am doing more, others are doing. That's not. What is my problem? Whether others do or not, I must do what I can do, what I am expected to do. That's all. So, and you find very often problems in the commitment. There is no problems connected to satisfaction. So because you find very often the problem of loneliness. That's why this is one big thing why people have no satisfaction in their life. All of us, to some extent, the degrees may be different, but loneliness is a haunting experience for all of us. So we cannot completely throw it away. And that is what, how we can cope with it, how we can fill it with the right things. That is more important. So, loneliness. And that's why in that context, anyhow, may not get the occasion to speak about different managements are there in life. We speak of time management, we speak of mood management, we speak of money management. At least three main things. May speak some other managements also. Mood management, money management. In the business circles, they speak of money management. And in the maybe interpersonal or managerial skills, speak of mood management. And in our circles also, because time management, any field, any circle, it is important. But for us especially also, we can think of time management in this context. Other two also very important, mood management and money management. But here, why I mention this, it's very much referring to this. So some do not know what to do. Yeah, I feel lonely and I do not know what to do, and therefore they do not do anything. That is what? Killing the time. So three types of people with regard to time and time management. So there are some who kill the time, there are some who fill the time, there are some who till the time. So kill, some fill, and some till. So what do I mean? As I already said, I do not know what to do, therefore I don't do anything. And I do not know what to do, therefore I do anything. You understand? So, whatever nonsense possible I do, somehow. That's what after the morning mass, let us say, that's what sometimes some of the priests they say, fellow, you are simply struggling, preparing this and that, running here and there, and you see how happy I am. Morning mass, and then I'm happy. If you call that happiness, I don't want that kind of happiness. For me, it is better that I live 4 days and then do little good and die, instead of living 40 years and doing nothing. So what I mean, so the fellow after the morning mass does not know what to do, and therefore from morning till evening watch the TV or what, play with the mobile, that's what, or read something not needed, watch something. So that is what, filling the time. Or take the bike and go everywhere socializing, flirting, and then simply roaming around, and then afterwards say family apostolate. So filling, and then there are some who really till that time, means cultivate, try to make use. So, loneliness is a problem for every one of us. But then, how do I address that problem? How do I approach and tackle that problem? So, in that context, do I try to kill my time? Do I try to fill my time in useless talking, in useless gossiping, all that, or in useless partying, going together? And or do I really cultivate the time? So problem of loneliness will never leave us. It is always there. And that is what we need to understand and accept the fact, my sisters. By our vocation, we are bound to be lonely people. In the sense, ultimately, do not expect anyone to stand by you to support you. It's what your own people, your relatives, even friends, we are loners. And that is why we say God is our greatest support. We should learn this lesson. Otherwise, what happens? Oh, I did so much to you, and I helped you when you were in need, and today you are not supporting me. What? That's all you did. That's all. That finishes there. If he is grateful, if they support you, and that's why many times when the priests and the sisters get into problem, you may not expect much support. If you get well and good, but what I am saying is we must be always prepared to stand alone. And that is why the more we are alone, the more God will come to our rescue. The more we try to depend on what is worldly and human, the more God may think this fellow does not need me. That also we have to. So, that is why there is certainly that inner emptiness, loneliness, and that is why we feel dissatisfied. And how do I, as I said, how do I tackle this issue of loneliness? Do I try to engage myself, fill myself with something positive, with something productive? That is what. And then this is another thing. Why crisis in commitment? This is another major problem. Today many find it very difficult, though they may not express it. Because companionship, that is more basic than the physical relationship. Physical, even we can live without that, though there will be bodily urges and instincts. But if only we have that companionship, that real love and friendship, we can certainly live that. But the problem is in our communities, we lack that. And that is the reason why many failures are there with regard to chastity. Because when I do not get that love, that real friendship, then this is one thing which easily gives me satisfaction, which easily fulfills me, at least temporarily. So that's what this is the problem of loneliness, and this is the problem of inconsummation. As a man, a woman, biologically are destined for consummation. But children, you understand? So, since it is not there in our life, that's why I remember still some years back when I was attending the retreat, one Sri Lankan priest, he was saying, very true it is, we people, see, since we do not have the physical posterity, then we want to see our posterity. We want to perpetuate our generation in the form of the buildings, or in the form of these unhealthy relationships, or in the form of a craving for post, position, or craving for money. So, these become substitutes for our physical posterity. I cannot have children. And therefore, that's what, through the children, that's what posterity, we continue our generation. And here there is nothing to continue the generation. And that's why this building, this money, this relationship, this position, these become my perpetuations. And there is a lot of truth in that. So, that is the problem of inconsummation. So, that's why very rightly Pope Francis, I conclude, he says, speaking to the religious, women religious, he says, remember, you are chaste women, you are spinsters, but then spinsters because not married, but then you are called to be mothers. Called to be mothers. Physically may not bear, conceive, but then every religious is called to be a mother. And that is what sometimes people find it very hard to see in the religious mothers. That motherly heart. Sometimes that is what you find the religious very barren. Not physically, barren, mental. And that's why that tenderness, that's what just because do not get married, why should that tenderness, that's what women, a woman is known for tenderness, known for affection, known for that ability to give that human touch. Nobody else. A man, however loving he may be, he cannot, in the sense, substitute a woman, a mother. That is the special, that's why I have the highest respect for women. And that's why if I love my mother much more than a mother unto me, I love her as the most beautiful woman. That's what recently when I went also for the Thanksgiving Mass as my second sister was elected provincial. So this is what I told. I have two sisters, only two, and both of them are sisters, nuns. One is the eldest of the family and the other is the just above me, 4 or 5 years elder too. The eldest and I am the youngest of 7. Some 23 years difference between my eldest sister and myself. She became sister before I was born. And then this one 4 or 5 years. And so I was just telling him that I was the main celebrant and then there was felicitation. I was telling, so my elder sister is like mother to me and this one is like friend to me. So, we share all those things anyhow later on. We were 7, now we are 4. Because 11 years back, in the same year, I lost 3 of my brothers. All of heart attack, young, 62, 54, 49. And in the same year, another nephew of 30 years, all died of heart attack. And I lost my father when I was small only. And that's why my mother became everything for me. Lost 5 years back. That's why I love her so much. Because single-handedly she brought up all the 7 children. And that's what in that context, in that felicitation I was telling. I love these 2 sisters not only because they are sisters to me by blood, but because they are fine women. They are great women who give me respect, who give me affection, who give me support. A motherly heart and a friendly, a sisterly heart. And that is what today, my sisters, why people are losing that respect, that value. So we need to check and see. Just because we have given up the marriage, does it mean we have also given up the motherliness, a motherly heart? that tenderness, that affection, that compassion, that spirit of affability, we call it so. And finally, this is the problem of obedience, conflict with authorities, and today this is increasing so much. In the name of responsible obedience, in the name of reasonable obedience, youngsters, they refuse to obey. We are reasonable people. We are responsible people. It is not blind obedience. We are not servants. We are not slaves. All that is okay. But what is the problem? Even Jesus himself, the Son of God, he obeyed the human parents, the human traditions. And then we, weak, fragile, I, imperfect and unworthy, lot to purify, lot to learn, lot to grow, lot to be sanctified. Why can't I obey? I shall speak in the context of obedience. But then I tell you in all humble pride. Okay, humble pride. Understand? In all humble pride, I can tell. Okay, these many, my few years, I can say I have never disobeyed my authorities. Even though most of the appointments were totally against my liking and my preference, I never said no. And the clearest example is my coming to Morning Star. So if only I wanted to say no, nobody would have forced me to come here. Because I already asked for 2 years, just a little bit of not break. After 7 years in the administration, I wanted little break from all that mental strain, just in some small village or mission like John Mary Vianney. And general and provincial agreed to put me in some mission. And then this blessed thing came. The board of bishops requested the congregation, requested the general, and general writes 1.5 page letter to me. Because the general administration and all the provincials, 10 provincials, they sat together and then they decided upon 3 of us. We started with 3, now we are 5 MSFs. Rector, Dean of Theology and Dean of Philosophy. So that's why, but I'm not saying great, I'm saying in the and that is not great. Thus, I am called to obey, that's all. Obedience I have professed, and therefore, if I obey, that is not the credit. That's not the credit. That's what Jesus says. When you do everything you are expected to do, say I am mere servant. That is exactly. So I do not claim that I did something big or great. Of course, in a context where sometimes authorities do not easily meet with yes, you may say great, but then it is nothing great. It is only duty. We shall stop there.
Lord, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.